that might be lesson 1064, but don't worry about that right now. That was just me noodling away. Today we're going to be continuing on from last week, which we were doing the E chord and getting a count going so that we could start putting some pressure on ourselves to change to the A chord, back to the E, and the B7 chord. We also did the E minor pentatonic scale. Okay, again, don't worry about the speed. I really shouldn't do that. Just take your time. Speed kills. You don't want to get injured. So what we do want to do today is start strumming through that E chord and putting it all together. Okay. And maybe adding a little bit more than just down strums. So hopefully you've gotten to a point where you're able to do this. Even if it's slow, it doesn't have to be fast. Okay, so if you're not there, doesn't mean you can't watch this video, but it may be a little complex to do the next thing because we're just going to inject a little bit more rhythm into the right hand. We're going to start by introducing upstrokes. Okay, so we're going to go like this. Okay, so we're just going to get used to changing with that kind of strum. Now, this is what I want you to do first. Do the down up strum, and we're going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. But we won't worry about doing the up when we change to the A, okay, or when we do any of the chord changes. Let's just get to that 4, okay, and we'll try to make that change. So again, you want to have been able to get to 4 strums and change fluently, even at a low speed. It doesn't have to be fast. You can replicate this exercise at that speed. But what we're going to do now is obviously do down and do an upstroke. Now, when you do that upstroke, this is something that needs addressing because sometimes that downstroke can feel really comfortable, but the upstroke can feel horrible. So it's a little bit like painting. Think about it with a brush. We don't want to do excess movement. And in fact, if we hold the pick nice and light and not too tight, obviously without dropping it, the pick will actually take care of that motion pretty much all by itself. Okay, the pick will kind of drag and it will adjust to a nicer angle to go along those strings. So you kind of want to allow for a little bit of that, and that's why I keep saying don't hold the pick too tight because it will kind of do it for you. So, and if you're a beginner, I probably recommend using a fairly thin pick. That can help too, something a bit more flexible. So let's try this. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Now change. 1, 2, 3, change. So I'm going to say change on the 4. So think ahead. Start thinking about that change before you get there. This really helps a lot. So we've just done the A. 1, 2, 3, change. E. 1, 2, 3, 4, and B. 7, 2, 3, 4, and we're back to E. Okay, so what else can I tell you about that one? If you're struggling with that exercise, I would just spend a little bit more time on the previous one. If you find you're getting frustrated because your fingers aren't landing, well, here's another aspect of this. It doesn't have to be perfect every time. I almost, maybe I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, even as a professional, even as an accomplished player, man, you fluff them sometimes. I don't think anyone's ever perfect. You don't even think about it. You just bash away and you're having fun, especially if you're playing rock and roll or rockabilly. Little things happen. You know, the perfection can come. Try playing it a couple of times. If it's a little rusty, just make rusty changes and then figure out what's going wrong and just focus in on those a little bit and come back to keep playing it. It's an ongoing process, you know. That aha moment where you get it, you know, it will be accompanied by quite a few bummer moments after, but the percentage will slowly change in your favor, and one day you'll get to a point where you'll play it 98% of the time correctly, and that other 2% I feel like never really goes away unless you're, I don't know, Pat Metheny or one of those, like, I don't know. You probably don't even know who Pat Metheny is. He's obviously not a rockabilly player. I'm not sure why he even came to mind. So that's kind of your next port of call, is getting the upstroke in there with that nice relaxed, you know, pick grip and try to make it sound good. Make sure it's not catching because you're holding the pick too tight or the angle's a little funny. just, yeah, make sure it sounds good. Always try to sound good, slow it down and sound good. So if you get that happening and that feels kind of good, you can start trying to incorporate what I kind of call like the grey strum, where in between changing we get a little bit of an open sound. Okay, so that would be like this. And what that is I'm lifting my hand to make the change, but I'm not stopping that right hand. It's okay. You know, it's a little bit of grey area, a little bit of grey strumming. It's just open strings as our hands are making that transition. So give that a shot. I'll just do that one more time really slow. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Okay, give that a shot. So don't forget the transcription will be free on my Patreon. You can still support the Patreon if you like for a couple bucks a month. Obviously, that really helps me out. And later down the track, you might want to go further with the website, and there's some courses and stuff. But, you know, just in full disclosure, it's one of the motivations for me doing these beginner series, as I mentioned in the, I think in the introduction video, is helping people get to a point where they're able to make use of the vast resources that I've created, because there's hundreds of lessons. But if you're frustrated because you haven't got there, hopefully this video gets you a little closer in a nice stepwise path. Make sure you click like, make sure you comment if you've got any questions, just feel free to ask. Hope you're enjoying the lessons. Let me know what you think. I'll see you guys in the next one.